They may say that nice guys finish last, but Ben Nguyen proves that sometimes it's the good guy who comes out on top. After the war in Vietnam, Ben's family settled in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, where they rebuilt their lives from scratch as refugees. Ben was bullied as a child, so his mother signed him up for taekwondo. From his early days practicing in a church basement to stepping into the UFC cage, Ben has been fighting his way through adversity. In 2014, a video of Ben knocking out an opponent in 25 seconds who had tried to bully him at a pre-fight press conference went viral. Ben now trains alongside his wife, Australian fighter April Adams, and proudly represents his Vietnamese heritage in the sport that he loves.
What are we doing?
Good, good. Before we start, I got to ask you, where's Ben 10 come from?
Ben 10. So it's just something that everyone just all around the world just decided to call me. So anyone that I'd meet, just like out and about, either training or doing something, anywhere that that had fighting, like everyone would be like, "Oh, it's Ben 10. How's it going?" It's just kind of like their way of kind of breaking down that, just making things comfortable for them. It's just like Ben 10. Hey, it's Ben 10.
Yeah, cool. Well, you're
Yeah.
you're glitching a little bit on your video, but it's okay. We could hear you just fine.
Yeah, Australian internet isn't the greatest out here, so
Well, it's got to go
but it's
across
getting
the
better.
Pacific. So
That's right. Yeah.
So what part of Australia are you
Um,
from? And you gotta tell me like north, south, west, east. Like I don't know this.
Okay, yeah. Geography. So Australia has I'm on the east side, like east in the middle. So like if you split Australia like in half, like hamburger ways,
Yeah.
be like it'd be like right in the middle on the east side.
Okay, so you're not far from the coast. You're not at the coast, but you're somewhere towards it, right?
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much like on the coast. Yeah.
nice.
But like the most of like 90% of the population lives on the coast. Like anything in the middle is just like desert and barren, and it's just everything can kill you out there. So no one goes out there. No one wants to live out there.
Yeah. No, I've been there. I've been to Brisbane, Melbourne, and
Have
Sydney.
you?
Oh yeah, on business though. So unfortunately, it's fly in, visited some customers, fly out. Didn't get a whole lot of time to check it out. I had a free day in Melbourne, and I got to kind of go down the coast
Okay.
there. Phenomenal, beautiful area. But Brisbane, I literally flew in, went to a hotel, and saw a customer the next day, and then boom, out. So,
Oh wow.
but yeah,
In and
beautiful
out.
country. Yeah, but
Yeah.
yeah,
No.
awesome place for sure. Well, man, we appreciate you joining us. We're excited. You're our second UFC fighter on the show. We had Andre Sukumtat. Not sure if you've heard of
Guy,
him.
really nice guy.
Yeah. Certainly a really good guy. But yeah, we're excited to have you on. Ko's going to go ahead and kick us off, and Ben, we'll jump right in the interview because we know you're busy here.
No
All right.
worries.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of C4 Podcast. My name is Coach Andetka. I'm here with my co-host John Messina, and we have a wonderful guest on today, a UFC fighter from Australia. So we just had a UFC
Andre.
fighter, the Asian sensation, Andre Sukumtat, and now we have another Southeast Asian MMA fighter, from the other side of the world. So definitely love to hear his stories and how things are different over there and versus how they are over here. So with that being said, I'm going to turn it over to John to introduce the guest.
Yeah, so our guest today is Mr. Ben Nguyen. Ko said from Australia, but originally from Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Cold, frozen tundra in the Great Plains. One of the few places colder than where we live, which is in Chicago.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're loving life though now, I'm sure, in
Oh
Australia.
yeah. Anytime when I don't have to shovel a driveway full of snow, I'm happy. So yeah, definitely no snow out this way down under. But the trade-off is like everything wants to kill you. But that's what makes me stronger.
That's true. Poisonous snakes, big spiders,
That's
all,
right.
all that cool stuff. Well, Ben, we like to start from the beginning. Um, and I know your family came from Vietnam, and this story is familiar to a lot of the people listening. I'm sure, but start with their immigration story. How you guys ended up in Sioux Falls of all places.
Yeah, so my parents they decided to leave Vietnam, in the 80s. It was pretty hard. It was a hard time for a lot of people, after the war and stuff. So everyone was trying to, I guess, go find opportunity elsewhere. And my parents and my two older sisters were really young. They're like toddlers or like really young. And they my whole family pretty much like hopped onto a boat, and they went out to sea towards like the Philippines and stuff. And they actually broke down out in sea, and they were stranded out there for a while, like no food for like the longest time. And but anyways, they struggled to get across, made it to the Philippines, and from there they spent like a few months just at like refugee camps and stuff like that. And then they got an opportunity to get to I guess have a family bring them in and kind of I guess acclimate them to Western culture, and bring them up, because immigrants from third world country going into America is like completely different. So they had opportunity, and it was in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, of all places, right? So there's at that time like not a lot of people. I mean, right now like there's less than 1 million people in the entire state. So it's like it's a very small population, and there's not a lot of Asian people out that way. A lot of different, not a lot of different cultures, like mainly Caucasian farmers and stuff. But yeah, they found an opportunity to get in Sioux Falls, and that's where we landed, man. And yeah, it's they pretty much had me in Sioux Falls. That was I was like the firstborn of my family in America. And yeah, that's kind of how it all started off, was kind of getting across the ocean, and then getting sponsored by a family to get to America, bring us in and raise us up, kind of thing.
So now you said there's not even 1 million people in Sioux Falls. How many would you say how many people would you say are Asian in Sioux Falls?
Oh man, I think I think somewhere like 1% of the entire population of South Dakota is like Asian. I want to say like a percent or something. Like it's really small.
And that's about an hour from Sioux City, right? Which is probably the next biggest town or metro area.
Oh, what do we got? Sioux City. Yeah, we got Sioux City. Yeah, probably, yeah. And they brought a lot of Southeast Asians out that way. Yeah. I think because at the time there was like some factories popping up. Like my dad, for example, he has the same job that he had when they first got to America at a meat packing plant in Sioux Falls. He's got the same job today as he did like 30 some years ago, 35, 36 years ago, which is really, yeah, it's really hard to come across these days because no one holds a like a long-term job that long, man. He's been working so long at that. It's one job.
Yeah, there's
Crazy.
several plants in the Sioux City area I know because we have, I guess they're not relatives of my wife's, but my father-in-law, my wife's dad came over from Laos, and he also
Yep.
first job at a meatpacking plant, but in Amarillo, Texas. But we know several families from Sioux City that did the same thing, worked in the plants.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Very common. Yeah. They had the, plants in Sioux City. There's some in Minnesota. It was like in that they call it in the like that heartland
yeah,
region, just Iowa, South Dakota, Minnesota. Um, what else we got? Nebraska, kind of in that small
Yeah.
circle. Like
Yeah.
for some reason, just got a lot of Southeast Asians, lots of Vietnamese, Laos, Cambodian,
yeah.
just because it was a lot of opportunity like to start off with. So that's where you see a lot of Asians.
Yeah, you didn't have to speak English, and it paid really well, especially for when you just came, right? And the cost of living was typically low in those rural areas. So
Really low. Yeah.
yeah, got
It
on
was
your
easy.
feet.
Yeah, it was just easy to get a start, right? It's just back then, man. It's like, get off and find it. You get a job straight away, and then bang.
Yeah. Well, tell us a little bit. So you were born there, but what was it like growing up? Tell us a little bit more about your childhood there, some of the challenges you faced, and some of the good things about living in a small town.
Yeah. So living in a small town, I'm glad I grew up in Sioux Falls in such a small town because it made me become curious about like the world, the outside world, because back then there was no internet, there was barely any TV. You only had like a few channels to watch, right? So you couldn't really see much of the world. So it made me curious on like what the world was like, and really made me work hard to like not escape Sioux Falls, but like kind of like be able to get out and kind of explore a little bit more and stuff. But yeah, it made me curious. And growing up in Sioux Falls was it was good, man. It was quiet. There wasn't much to do. Like
How
anyways,
about Ben? How about just some of the not so pleasant stuff growing up
not
in
so
a
pleasant stuff.
brand new world, and you look different, you are different, and people are looking at you differently, right? And I think
Yeah.
we've all experienced that, and
Okay.
racism, right? Let's just say it. I mean, what was your experience with that? I mean, to your family, to you, and
Yeah.
how did you deal with it?
Yeah. So with that, I experiencing racism. I didn't really realize it like growing up, like what was actually happening until I grew up and kind of looked back and I was like, oh man, that was kind of like wrong for them to say. Like, for example, I was bullied in middle school and stuff, and I had like these. I remember like night and day. It's like these two girls that like went up to me in middle school, and they're like, uh, they were just trying to like start trouble or something, and they started. I said something like, "Oh, it's like you bombed Pearl Harbor and stuff like that." I'm like, dude, like back then I was like, man, that's like kind of mean, but like now I'm like, dude, that's like really awful. That's terrible. I didn't experience it at that extent, like all the time, but that was like one of the one things I do remember. I guess with growing up in mostly Caucasian, you kind of just you almost don't realize that you're Asian until until you're like, oh yeah, I'm Asian again. All right. It's because everyone like literally like in Sioux Falls, like no barely any other Asians. There'll be like the one other Asian in town, right? and uh and you it's funny because like you tend to gravitate to people of your your race, your ethnicity. So we would hang out with like the Vietnamese, like the small Vietnamese group, like 5 of us, right? in the whole high school. We
There,
we
there
would
were like 5 families, you would
no
say?
like 5 of us in that were around the same age, that were
Okay, yeah.
friends,
Gotcha.
Vietnamese, and then we'd hang out with all the Southeast Asians, like the Laos people, Cambodian people, yeah, and it was funny because you just like gravitate towards the people of your own ethnicity, almost like
Yeah,
where
yeah,
you
for
come
sure.
from. It's really weird, but yeah, we would like literally like all the Asians would somewhat know of each other in the whole town. We're talking a town of 150,000, 200,000. Like everyone would know each other, right? So
Now say you're the 5 of you guys are in a group and walking the streets on a Friday night. Are you getting hassles as you're walking in the street, or did you ever get bothered with, or
yeah,
you know?
hassled. Let's say we got hassled or anything. No, we weren't looking for trouble or anything. We're not like going out on the streets and nah.
Well,
No.
it's not looking for trouble. It's kind of like being who we are, and
Yeah,
where we were at that time. Trouble found us. No, we weren't looking for trouble. I
for
don't think
sure.
any of us ever looked for it, right?
Yeah, right.
That situation at that time.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess yeah, we weren't really I guess yeah, it was just we didn't experience it too much.
Mhm.
Yeah, and we didn't go out. There wasn't much to do in Sioux Falls, right? There's like I don't know, there's not a lot to do, right? There's like there's lots of bars and restaurants, but like there's for a high school student on a Wednesday night, man, you're going to the bowling alley or I don't know, going to the shopping mall or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Something.
Well. Then how did you end up getting into MMA, and especially martial arts? I guess first, Ben.
Yeah, MMA. So I started doing taekwondo when I was 12, and that kind of I really fell in love with doing martial arts, and I really had a really good coach that really pushed me to be good, and he that all started like the whole martial arts thing for me. When I turned 18, I was able to all I wanted to do was like to fight and like prove myself, right? I was like, I've got my black belt in taekwondo, I'm a badass, and right when I turned 18, I signed up for a cage fight out in the fairgrounds. This is like 2006, 2007, like a long time ago. And back then there wasn't any like setup. There wasn't any like proper fight events. This is like this is out at we fought literally at a cattle showing ground. I don't know if you guys know what that is.
Yeah.
Where they show cattle.
Yeah.
And when they like the farmers, like they have they grab the cow by its reins and like they're walking around like this big, they go into like this big arena and like walking around and stuff. We fought like one of those. They would set up like a cage, like this tiny ass cage, right? It's not like the octagon today. It's not like a football field. It's like this tiny like little cage, right? Like you would take one step and you'd be like right in front of your opponent. And so yeah, I signed up for my first cage fight. It was like show up and you fight whoever you want. It's like you fight whoever shows up type things. Like, all right, you look about the same size, so yeah, you're gonna fight. And so I showed up, and I fought a wrestler, of course, because I'm from it's in the Midwest, right? It's like the wrestling hotbed of America. So I fought a wrestler. I didn't have any wrestling training at all, grappling. I just knew, a little bit of taekwondo. I thought I knew, it's like black belt, badass. And got in there, and old mate just took me down and like double leg take me, like pick me up, like slam me down, and then got on my back and choked me out. And that was it. That was my first fight. I lost it. And from there I was like, man, this sucks. Like, but I still want to keep doing it. Like, I gotta like keep training, and want to get back in there. So I started training like grappling, like wrestling, and I started grappling, and that's where I started to learn, like really fall in love with the sport, because there's so many different arts, right? Mixed martial arts isn't just like the one, kicking or punching, right? It's so many different arts, and I just fell in love with the different disciplines. I was training Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Muay Thai, all these different arts, judo as well. And I was just like, all I wanted to do. I was like, all I ever wanted to do was just train. And that was it. And so I was like 18, 19 at that time. And I was like going to college, right? I went to college, SDSU, South Dakota State University, for a year. And I went for engineering because I thought, it's like, I legitimately like would go into engineering, but like I just didn't like it. Just wasn't for me. Like at the time, it's like all I could think about was like fighting, like fight. I just want to train, fight. And but my parents, right, Asian parents, dude, they just want you to go to school, become a doctor, become dentist, whatever. They don't want your kid to be fighting, don't want their kid to be getting punched in the face at all. So that was another thing too, like, living with my parents and fighting at the same time, because I would try to hide. Like, I wouldn't tell my parents that I was fighting, right? And I would come home from a fight, and I'd be all like, bruised up, messed up and stuff. And it's like, try to cover it with a hat and glasses. And, mom was like, take that shit off. I'm like, what the hell are you doing? It's like, I didn't born you to become a fighter. So, that was a really hard struggle for me, I guess, with the acceptance of my parents and my passion, right? My passion was martial arts. And but my parents, Asian parents, it's just like the pushing, go to school. And that, I think that fall, so it was going to be my second year in college, going to do my sophomore year in college at South Dakota State. And it's like that spring, it's like, was it August or something? I was like, it's like I sort of like just missed that deadline to sign up for my next courses and stuff. And I was like, I'll just train and fight, and I'll just kind of, that was it. That was kind of like, that ship sailed, let's fight instead. So that I dropped out of college to become a cage fighter. And my parents were not happy at that time, man. They damn near disowned me. And I was like, we had a serious conversation. It's like, man, like, what are you doing? It's like, parents weren't happy. They pretty much like disowned me at that point, right? They're like, if you're not going to school, you're gonna have to get a job. And I ended up getting a job at Best Buy and working for the Geek Squad. So I was like wearing like the tie and the black tie and the shirt, and you guys been in Best Buy and seen like the guys, the Geek Squad walking around. I was like one of those guys, right, driving around fixing people's computers and stuff, and that was fun. I was getting pretty happy with that. I was like almost gonna just keep climbing that corporate ladder and settle down. Like I'm stop fighting for just a second there, because I was getting really comfortable with my job and stuff. And at that time, my fighting career wasn't really getting off the floor. It was kind of I was like seven wins and like 5 losses by I think it was like 2010, 11. I'm trying to give you guys like a timeline so you guys can visualize it. But 2010 to 11, I was working that full-time job, and what was it? I got called out of the blue by not out of the blue, but I got called to go try out for a Tiger Muay Thai sponsored athlete. I guess kind of pretty much go over to Thailand and train full time, get like a stipend, and pretty much just have everything covered for you. Just got to go out and try out, fly over to Thailand and try out, right? So the coach was who is my mentor now, and still a really good friend, Brian Ebersol, also UFC fighter back in the day, but he was the head coach at Tiger Muay Thai in Thailand, and they were trying to get like a pro MMA team together. So they pretty much sent out like an invitation to fighters to come and try out for this team, and I fortunately decided to go across and try out for that team, and that's what got me overseas to the other side of the world.
This happened while you were at Best Buy.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I
Cool.
planned. Yeah, I took time off from work to go across, but I never returned. So I was like, hey guys, I'm gonna be gone for a month. I'm just gonna go Thailand for. This was like a month in advance, but they're like, okay, cool, and yeah, I never came back. Never came back. It was like that was the last time I was at that job. So
How did your parents feel about you going over to Thailand?
oh man, same thing. Well, same sort of thing with the fighting. They're really worried about me. They're like, oh man, going over to Southeast Asia by yourself. We've been over there many times to Vietnam, but I hadn't gone like over by myself, and I guess lived on my own, like out in the middle of nowhere. And yeah, my parents, again, I told them I was going to be gone for a month, and I never came back. So mom was pretty upset about that, or she wasn't upset, but she was like, oh man.
So what year was this?
This is 2012. This is 2012.
At that time, we were doing video
24?
calls, right? At that time, we were doing video calls, right, on the computer.
Yeah, you could do the
laptop.
FaceTime. Yeah, I think FaceTime was coming. It was out. I think, maybe FaceTime video was out. Maybe it was just coming out. But yeah, it was like that. Yeah, that age.
Or Skype. I think Skype might have been out at that time.
Yeah,
Skype was definitely out.
Yeah.
It was-
Okay.
Skype was definitely out. Skype. And the Thai internet was really good. Thai internet was like I was getting like 100 megabytes down, really good. Anyways, where was that? Thailand. I was in Thailand, and my parents weren't happy. Yeah, I never came back home, and I didn't get back home until like 3 years later. Because, yeah, I told them I was gonna be gone for a month. I didn't get back home finally until 2015 was the time I finally got back. And yeah, my mom always says, she always jokes around. It's like, yeah, you remember that time you said you were gonna go to Thailand for a month and you came, you didn't come back for 3 years. She always jokes around with that. So,
Oh man. So tell us a little bit what it was like living over there, kind of as an athlete in Thailand.
yeah, in Thailand. So, training under Tiger Muay Thai, and I guess that was like my first like professional, like real MMA gym, like where you get people from all over the world flying in to train at this one place, right? There's places like this in America. There's like, they call them like these super gyms, right? You get like you've heard of like Jackson Wink. I don't know if you're familiar with like UFC fighting and stuff, but like there's a few different like there's like American Top Team is like one of the super camps, right? Like one of those gyms.
Yeah.
It's like my first time being at one of those like super mega gyms where people from all around the world would go to and train. And so training at that, I thought I had the world at my feet, because I was like, dude, this is awesome. I get to do what I love to do, and I get to train with all these people from all around the world. So I met so many people from all across the world. Hi, wife. And yeah, I met people from all around the world, including my wife, who you just saw.
Yeah.
And so fighting. So I met my wife through fighting.
So
In Thailand.
she was training there as well.
She was training there as well. Yeah. She does Muay Thai boxing. She was a professional boxer. She's ranked number 7 in the world in box rec. WBA, Oceania champion, WBO, Asia Pacific champion, and she's high level athlete, high level fighter. She's actually still training today and wants to fight MMA.
Wow.
Yeah. So I'm kind of like helping her. I'm like coaching her, and I guess being her training partner at the same time, because we're about the same. She's a little bit smaller than me, but we could still work together. It's a really interesting dynamic.
Yeah,
that's awesome. That's awesome. It runs in a family. You guys have kids?
No kids yet. No,
not yet.
We were
probably future MMA fighter.
Oh yeah. I mean, if he wants to be, but I'm not gonna push him in that direction. I actually wouldn't prefer him to be I would prefer him not to be fired, because it's a lot of hard work, man, for not a lot of money. I want him to be golfer or basketball player. I don't know about the basketball player. I hope he does get tall. Yeah, but golfer or baskotball player, yeah, for sure. Pushing him 100%.
Yeah.
But if he wants to fight, yeah, I'll hold him up.
So tell us about getting called up to the UFC, how that all came about, because that's kind of like the Super Bowl for you guys, right? I mean,
yeah. So the UFC thing. So you guys all seen the video with the guy with the tattoos, covered in tats, face tats.
Yeah.
It's in my face at the weigh-ins.
What ethnicity was he? You couldn't tell.
Yeah, you can't tell really.
He's too tattooed.
Exactly. You know what? I wouldn't 100% accurately know. So I would have to guess he's Australian, but who knows? Who knows? Yeah. But Australia, again, is very much similar to America, where it's like lots of immigrants, right? So,
Yeah.
you get a lot of people immigrate here from Asia. So you get a lot of Vietnamese people with Australian accents. It's the weirdest thing, man. An Asian guy with an Australian accent is cool. But at first it was like really, I was like, whoa, an Asian dude with an Australian accent. That's so cool. It's like, I want one.
I was there. It's a melting pot, just like the U.S., right?
It's a
So you
melting
got
pot.
all kinds of people.
Yeah,
from all
kinds
over.
Yeah, it's really.
Yeah, but that video went viral. So the guy was kind of bullying you, right? And
yeah,
for
man.
anybody
He was
listening,
like,
go look this thing up. You got to see it.
Yeah. So yeah, he got in my face. He's covered in tattoos. He gets my face away and puts his fist on my face, even. And then he does like this head nudge at me, and I was like, "Whoa!" Because I thought he was just playing it up a little bit. And then he does like little head nudge thing, like almost headbutts me, and I'm like, "Oh wow!" That was like, I really felt like some malice in that. Dude, like this guy's gonna get it tomorrow. I'm gonna make sure of it. And that's where you see me smiling, because I'm like, dude, wait until tomorrow, buddy. Because that's exactly what I'm thinking. I'm like, dude, I'm gonna get you tomorrow. And next day, freaking, yeah, I just went in there, and I remember going in there, and I remember him like just stand. The fight starts, right, and then he's like stood so close to me, very like wide stance. He's like almost in like a sumo stance. He's super wide, so he can't move. He's very planted in the ground. Seems like he's very planted, and I just felt like I could hit him from like distance, right? I felt like I could just from like a mile away, because I just felt like I was so much more explosive, and he was standing so stationary and so close to me. I was like, man, I just reach out and hit him. So I started unloading on him, just boom, boom, boom. And then we were waiting for that right hand, because we knew he had like that big whopping right hand from other videos, from his last fights that we'd watched. And we were expecting that big right hand to come. And as soon as it did, I was watching, and it came in the corner of my eye, and then I just, boom, just hit him. And I remember exactly what that felt like, that one moment of my fist connecting to his jaw, because like that's exactly where it hit. I remember it like night and day. And I remember feeling like my knuckles like go through my glove and like hit him in the jaw. And it was like that made that like that pop, where it was like where you like you sit down for like Thanksgiving dinner, and you like grab the drumstick and you like twist the drumstick and you pop it off.
Yep.
It was like that same pop, that cartridge, like poof, right? And I remember hitting him so hard, man. And he just went down, and I just kept going, because it's just instinct, man. It's just go for the kill, and land a couple shots on the ground, and that was it. After the fight, he was kind of he's like, good fight and stuff. Didn't really have much to say. It did go into my change room, like, hey man, it's just fight game, whatever. But and then I think a week after that, he said online, like, I got lucky or something. I'm like, wait a minute, I got lucky. Mate. That was years of training right there, in that one moment. Right? It's like, well, I've trained for that moment. Like at that point, I was 8-9 years into it. So that video went viral. That video got like millions of views. I think it's at 67 million views on YouTube or something. And I was on a 7-fight win streak at the time. UFC was planning an event in Adelaide, in one of the other towns in Australia. They had a person. They had a flyweight. So my division is like the smaller guy. So the 125-pound division. So they had a dropout in one of those fights, and I was here in Australia. I was on a 7-fight win streak, long win streak, and that viral video had gone out and done the round. So everyone had known, all the UFC definitely knew about me, and I had friends. So my mentor Brian and another coach as well, Roger Huerta, also UFC fighter. They heard about the dropout, and they quickly got into the ear of whoever in the UFC. And then it was just, I was in the right place at the right time, knew the right people, all the stars that aligned for me, and boom, I was in. Like it was like I was just at the right place at the right time. Just happened to be there, man. Could not be any more perfect. And yeah, from there, was it? So I was a last minute replacement fight. I think I had a month to train. It wasn't last minute, but a month to train for that fight. But I'd been training. I'm training regular as it is as an athlete. So a month training for that one, and I remember going into that fight having a lot of pressure, kind of living up to that video, that viral video. Everyone knew me from the video, but they haven't seen me fight in the UFC. That's my debut fight, right? So I felt like I had to prove that I could actually fight, and I was actually skillful, not just in the UFC because of this viral video, right? So I had a lot of pressure going into it, and ended up winning the fight, finishing the fight, 4 minutes 59 seconds in the first round. And man, I was over the moon. It was more of a relief for me. It was like the pressure had like just gone off my shoulders. Like, dude, I'm in. I won my debut fight, UFC. I proved myself. My parents even called me and said for the very first time that they watched me on TV and how good of a job I did. And I remember that phone call, like just me in the back room, and my mom called me, and I remember like tearing up because it was the first time I had gotten that acceptance from my parents. Because remember from from before, like we my parents just almost disowned me, right? So I went from getting disowned to having my parents' praises, and it was a really good feeling. Like that was like one of the best moments of my life.
Yeah,
Very nice.
awesome.
Very nice.
So then how many more UFC fights did you end up having?
I did 7 in total, so 6 more after that. My last fight was 2018. I unfortunately lost 2 fights in a row, and then at that time they were kind of debating if they wanted to get rid of the 125 division altogether because it was kind of getting stagnant. At the time we had I don't know if you know, we had a champion, Demetrius Johnson. He's probably one of the rated best pound for pound fighters in the world. Anyways, he was like the reigning champion for years, so there wasn't a lot of change in hands in the belt. So sometimes you get like the one guy that's just dominating the sport, it just kind of gets stagnant, right? So they were kind of getting rid of the division, and unfortunately I was in the wrong place at the wrong time. So that was my exit in the UFC. I did 1 fight in Japan for Ryzen. That was my last fight to this day. So that was in 2019.
What year? 2019.
2019. And then COVID happened. And then, yeah, I haven't fought since then.
You never fought with Demetrius Johnson?
No, heck no. He's in one championship right now. It's a different organization.
Yep.
Yeah, but yeah, I never got the chance to fight Demetrius.
So you were an UFC fighter, but being based in Australia, were you not getting a lot of the fights in America?
Well, with the UFC, when they come to different countries in the world, they'll so for example, they come to Australia and they'll load it up with all Aussie fighters, right?
Yeah.
So it'll just be like, get the hometown crowd. Everyone wants to watch home team versus away team.
Yeah.
And so I was mainly fighting most of my fights were in Australia. I did do one fight in the US for the UFC, and it was in my hometown, actually, in Sioux Falls.
Oh, wow.
All places, right? They had a UFC fight in a small town of 150,000, which is incredible. Which there's a bit of a story to that as well, on how the UFC got to Sioux Falls of all places. A small, long story short, it was because like there's a famous manager. He manages like a lot of the top UFC guys, and he lives in Sioux Falls for whatever reason. I don't know. Maybe it's because of the cheap houses, the cheap food, cost of living, but he lives in Sioux Falls, so he was able to talk to some of the top UFC guys and get a UFC event in Sioux Falls of a town of 200,000, 150,000. It's like not a lot of people. You would not expect a UFC fight to be there, right? So I got the fight in front of my hometown. Unfortunately, I lost that fight. I lost bad. Like I got finished on the ground, TKO'd on the ground. Yeah, I was taking like elbows to my face, like with someone on top of me. It was horrible. Yeah. So imagine going away, like leaving your hometown, coming back, like, yeah, I'm the best, and then getting smashed in front of your hometown crowd, right? That's what happened. But I was glad to have that opportunity because I went from fighting in a showground, which was literally across the street from the venue I had fought in the UFC, in like this big ass arena in front of my hometown, fighting in the UFC. I even brought like a couple of my training partners in the corner, so in the back with me, and my very first MMA coach, Pete Clausen, we would train. Yeah, we just trained when we trained back in, where was it? It was Brookings, South Dakota, where I went to university. We trained at like a gymnastics gym, because back then there was no MMA gym. And yeah, I was able to bring him into the corner and get him to come in and enjoy the time with me. So it was a good experience. Even though I lost, even though I got smashed in front of my hometown, I was glad I was able to come back and fight in the UFC in front of my hometown.
Yeah, that's good. So you hung up your gloves officially as far as formal competition, but you're not done with martial arts. Tell us about what you're doing now, other than training your wife, or and what you guys are doing.
Yeah. So we're actually about to go train like right after this interview, which is funny. But yeah, she's I've taken a step back from fighting. I'm not active right now. I think I will have another fight. I'm really enjoying the coaching and kind of taking a step back and passing down that knowledge to people who are up and coming, man, and loving it, man. Really loving being able to communicate with people on all different levels, and I guess yeah, it's just my way of giving back to people who've need it more than I do. So uh, yeah, it's been a really interesting year for me because it was really, at first I struggled with making that transition from athlete to coach, because I was like, because right, you've been doing it for so long, and to all of a sudden stop and do something a little bit different is a big change. So I struggle with it, but now I'm really enjoying, I guess, the seeing people just progress and giving them the right, figuring out what's the right input for the right person, because everyone learns differently, right? Someone might be a visual learner, someone might be an audible learner. Just got to figure it out, right? So yeah, I'm really enjoying coaching. Might return to the ring at some stage, but right now I'm just riding that coach wave.
Yeah. Now, I believe you also went and trained some folks in Vietnam, or trained there yourself, spent a little time there.
Yeah.
Tell us about that. What did the locals kind of think of you?
Oh my gosh. That was a really, really fun experience, going over and training, doing what I love, my passion, and then doing it with people back home, back in my home country, I guess my ethnic country, and just seeing the excitement for MMA and martial arts, right? Because for the longest time, like the cage fighting scene or MMA it's still today. There's still a bad stigma about it, so it's almost like an underground sport. But right now they are starting to they've lifted the ban for MMA fights in Vietnam. So there's a lot of MMA schools popping up, lots of interest, lots of people wanting to fight. I just think it's in our blood, right? I just think it's in, because Vietnam has been in so many different conflicts. We've been in wars for centuries, right? So many different wars. So we grew up, we grew up fighting. So I think it's just in our blood to want to go into combat, and I guess in martial arts, and fighting is something that is in our blood. I feel like, seems like, and you can really see it, man. Yeah, everyone, the excitement through it, and everyone is just getting really they're training, they're popping up, and all the gyms are popping up, and they're just, there's so much momentum going for it right now that I could see it being a big thing going in the future. So would love to see some more up and coming Vietnamese people get into MMA. Would love to see someone from Vietnam, just from Vietnam, get into the UFC. Be awesome to see.
Yeah, that's cool. So if there is somebody out there, of course, our listeners are mainly in the US, but what advice would you have for them to pursue their dream, or in MMA, or even if it's something similar?
I'd say just, man, just your passion and your love is gonna drive you to get where you want to go. So if it just depends on like how much you want to go after it, man. It's like, and I guess just keep doing it, and just keep training, doing what you love, and don't think about what other people think about what you're doing, because do whatever makes you happy. Do what you want to do. Follow your heart. Something cliche, something along those lines. But yeah, I say just follow. I don't want to say like something cliche, but
Yeah.
Just keep following your dreams and really, really find what you want to do. Like, really, ask yourself, do you really want to do this? Like, do you want to put in this effort? Like, how much effort is it going to take? Like, do you know what effort is going to take? Like, ask yourself, is it worth the pain? I don't know, man. So for me, it was just natural. All I wanted to do was just fight. And today, man, like all I could think about is all I think about is martial arts and just how better I can teach it and learn it better myself. Because the more I learn it, the more I know something, the better I can explain it to someone else. So it's kind of my drive for martial arts. And be curious, man. Don't have a closed mind. Be curious. Train different arts. Have fun. Yeah, have fun with it. Have fun with it, man. We're doing this for fun. Don't go in it for money. Don't go on for money. MMA is not the place for that.
Co will say the same thing with bodybuilding, right, Co?
Yeah,
Who's that?
Co right here. He's a former professional bodybuilder.
Yeah, Ko, yeah.
It's the same.
I'm the most broke. I hold the title for being the most
Right?
broke bodybuilder to compete on the Olympia stage.
Dude.
If there was a title for that, I'd have it because
You probably
get
wouldn't.
it.
That's the thing.
No, no, dude, I totally get it. It's you don't do it for the money, man. You don't. Like, if you want to make money, you just get a normal job or do something different. Like,
yeah, I should listen to my parents. I should at least stayed in school.
I know. Don't listen to your parents.
Yeah,
Do it
listen
like
to them
you do.
50%. Give them 50%, and you would have been okay. They talked about having a backup. Just have a backup in case it doesn't fall, it doesn't work out.
Have
the
a
way you want.
backup. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
Man, you'll be
awesome.
right. Yeah.
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 Well,
All
anyway,
right.
You said you had your first fight at 18. You didn't have any taekwondo competitions from the age.
Oh, I did. Yeah.
12 and up? Okay.
Yeah, I did competitions, stuff like that. Yeah. Didn't do very many because there's not a lot of comps around town, but yeah, I did maybe one or two, and that was about it. And then
Wow.
went straight into fighting.
awesome. Well, Ben, before we wrap up, where can people follow you to kind of see what you're doing? You're on IG,
Yeah, you
right?
can follow me. Yep, you can follow me at Ben10 MMA. So that's Ben10 MMA at Instagram, Facebook. Facebook's the same, and Twitter.
Awesome. All right, man. Well, Ben, we appreciate you coming on. Great interview. The C4 podcast is brought to you by the Lao American Sports Hall of Fame. Visit us on the web at laoamericansports.com, celebrating the first, inspiring the next.